A small, twin-sized bed sits in the corner of a room. Curled beneath the covers, you lay fast asleep. The rustle of a rocking chair on a carpeted floor slowly echoes through the pink and green room. Something isn't right. Icy cold fingers trace down your back. The shivers spring through your ribs. Your eyes open, but you dare not look to the closet door. The wicker crisply cut through the silent home. You slowly turn. The black, void-like silhouette anxiously rocked back and forth. Greetings all, I'm Callan.
And I'm Liza.
And you're listening to
Liza's Heebies.
and Callan's Jeebies. On these waves, we take legends and lore of the supernatural and bring them to you, our fantastical freaks. Now, today, we've got something special for you. My co-host here has some experience with the unseen herself. But before we dive into the juicy details, you know what time it is.
History time.
That's great. So, Liza, why don't you start with that ancient abode of yours?
Okay, so the history is that my dad built it before I was even alive. It was one of the firstest house I've ever even lived in. And they used to live in Wells in a trailer before my dad finally started up his excavation company and built the house for my mom and him and my brother and my sister. So the time that I was born, the house had already been well made. And so what happened was I was about 6 years old and my sister was 8, and we had this little white wicker rocker chair in my room. And we started seeing this guy, and he would come to us in our sleep. He would sit on the white rocker chair and talk to us. He would ask us for help, and we were really confused what was going on, but we were scared, genuinely scared. And we started writing these scribbled little notes in crayons that we would show my mom, and we would be we can't let the man see it, which we used to call him that because we had nowhere else to describe him as. But basically when you're little, obviously apparently you can see stuff.
Yeah.
So my mom was like, what's this note? What's this note? And we were shh, it's a man. You cannot show the man this. We were terrified of this man.
Do you, was there any reason why you're so scared of him and why, the man couldn't see it?
Well, probably because we were young, and obviously if you're sleeping in your little bedroom where my bunk bed was facing this wicker chair, and let's say you open your eyes and there's a dude just standing there or sitting on that wicker chair trying to talk to you, that's terrifying.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, the note itself, did it have what?
It was scribbles.
Just literal scribbles.
Scribbles, only that we could make out apparently, but we couldn't show this man the scribbles. Something about it.
No memory as to why you couldn't show
No
him?
memory as to why I was 6 years old. But we were scared, and my sister would always cry a lot. We wouldn't going to bed upstairs. We would always want to sleep in my mom's room. And so basically my dad had finally put a stop to it because it was disrupting his sleep. It was disrupting my brother's sleep, my mom, and me and my sister's sleep. And it was getting to the point the dogs were barking at the walls and the doors to upstairs. And
so it was they could tell that something was there.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. It was so scary. So my mom worked with this lady, and she was a medium and a psychic, and her name was Judy.
Mm-hmm.
And she came into the house and did readings for us. And basically we found out that 2 houses down, a man was struggling with depression. He was 2 houses down, and he lost his battle of depression and shot himself in the head.
Okay, so this was essentially a not a more recent neighbor, but was a neighbor to the property at the time.
Yes. He wasn't the neighbor anymore. He had killed himself long before we even moved in there.
Okay, before you even started building the house.
Yes, exactly. So apparently, I don't know if his spirit was like but the mirrors in our room created a portal because they were
facing each other.
They were facing each other.
I always tell you not to do
And no, exactly. And to this day, I do not face my mirrors towards each other. So basically, this portal was allowing him to come in And it was only really allowing him to go into our room because that's where the portal was.
Yep.
So he would just sit on that chair next to the portal and he would talk to us and he was asking us for help. And that's why we were so scared. We didn't know how to help him.
Like just asking, like would he like give any details or just help?
Like, help me, like I need to go somewhere. Like I need to get out, but like just leave then. But he couldn't. He genuinely couldn't because we were one of the only houses that were built on that neighborhood after it happened. So he had nowhere else to go. He had no light to go to. So she had left and he was still there after like all of the incense and all of like this ritual stuff happened. And she had this like little seashell that she like burnt some stuff in. It didn't go away.
Okay. So, I mean, either the one, what she did didn't work, which is what it seems like, or...
I think it was going to be a process. Something about a process.
Yeah. Because often those kinds of things, if like there's something where it's like it almost sounds like unfinished business kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
It feels very much like that. And so, because there have been many other stories as well of like people unable to get rid of things because it's not necessarily the area that's the issue, it's the actual like actions that you need to go through in order.
Right, and she couldn't do that whole entire day. It was strong. It was like something that was like really scary for me and my sister because like being so young and having something follow you around like that and talk to you when you're sleeping is scary.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of that when you're younger. How are you supposed to do that?
Yeah,
Go away, put a dream catcher up, hopes he falls into the dream catcher. Like no, it doesn't work like that.
Did you end up removing the mirrors before you started trying to get rid of them?
No, we moved it after the medium had told us.
Okay.
Yeah, and we also took the wicker chair out of the room, which ended up him actually just sitting by our bed, looking at us.
So the almost worse.
Yeah.
Okay. But also you removed the mirrors before you managed to get rid of the man in the wicker chair.
Yeah, so we moved the mirrors like so they were away from each other and they weren't facing each other, but the issue was still around and he was still there.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because he already made his way in.
Yeah, that was my idea, is that he was already in there, and maybe that's one of the reasons why those like things trying to get rid of him weren't as easily successful, because he was now trapped in there. He didn't have an exit door now.
Exactly. He wasn't able to be told like.
And this was like an apparition that you guys could see.
Full body.
Okay. All right.
Full
like details of the face and everything?
No details of the face. It was most silhouette basically, but like kind of you could see like almost just like regular work clothes.
Okay. Like almost like someone wearing a morph suit, where it's like you can't see any other details, but like you can tell what they're wearing, their general body shape and things like that.
And you just know it's a man. That's why we couldn't really describe him. We couldn't be like, oh, the man in the hat. He wasn't wearing a hat. We don't know what he was wearing. We just know he was wearing something like work clothes and he was a dude.
Yeah.
But we had the medium come in again. And after that, she ended up doing a whole entire like a way to make him leave. Like talk to him.
Like almost like seance kind of thing.
Yeah, seance. I don't really know the word for it, but just tell him to leave and that like to just go. And he eventually found his way.
So you managed to get him out of there eventually.
Yeah, it took about like 2 months.
So it is a very common experience actually for children to talk about seeing people and talking to people that just aren't there. Yeah. And so there have been multiple scientific studies actually onto why this is the case, what's going on here. And so the general consensus in the scientific community is that it is a combination of a child's like imagination.
Right.
Our brains like patterns and we like to know things.
Right.
And so if there's something we don't know or we are told a story, our brain will fill in the gaps for us. Right. It'll try and like prove it to us. So there are theories that things like that are more of like an imaginative kind of thing based on stories you've heard. The thing that I don't necessarily agree with that is things like in your case.
How were you able to talk to him?
Yeah, and how did you know who he was before you learned who he was?
Exactly.
Like you learned after the fact that there was a businessman in his 50s or whatever who ended up killing himself.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, if like that was like their final act almost, I mean, I would be asking for help too.
Yeah, honestly, like
that would be my last word.
If that was my last act and I was a ghost and I needed help, like man, help me.
Yeah.
Like that, it's just sad to be honest.
but no, I myself have had experiences, nothing as like vivid as that. I at some point in my life would love to go to some place where those things happen more often.
Yeah, like the spirit boxes.
Yep, and go and do things like that. Try something called the Estes method at some point. I'm not sure if you know what that is.
No, I don't.
For anyone who doesn't, the Estes method is where you grab a spirit box, which is essentially a like box that flips through radio waves really, really quickly. It'll stop like.
Oh, isn't it the one that isn't it just like?
Yep. So it
Yep,
swaps
that
through
one.
really quickly. And supposedly, spirits are able to talk through it. They will
seen
say
those.
things, and it'll like appear through the radio.
Right.
Like it'll sometimes be just a word or two.
It's not full sentence. I've never seen full sentences.
I have
on
seen
them.
full sentences before.
Oh, that is insane.
Where it's like, and the craziest thing is that it's not like it's constantly flipping through the radio station, so it's not all on one station. The words happen to line up, which seems like pretty strong coincidence,
Yeah.
especially if it answers a question very
And it
directly.
keeps going to
Yep,
the
and it
question.
keeps- So with the actual Estes method, what you do is you take a spirit box and you connect noise-canceling headphones to them. And the person who's wearing the noise-canceling headphones, and it's blaring loud, so they can't hear anything. It's supposed to be a sensory deprivation kind of thing. So then they put on a blindfold, and the other people in the room will ask questions. And then the person who is blindfolded and deafened can only hear the spirit box will then just say anything they hear on the box.
Ooh.
Like I said before, our brains want us to be right. So we will often ignore information that disproves us and latch on information that proves us right. And so it allows us to be able to actually get responses without that influencing it. Because the person that's giving the responses can't hear the questions. So they don't know what would make sense or not.
And it's like that's what you're hearing, and you can't hear anything else because your brain is so enclosed.
And it's so focused on that one sound. Yeah.
So once it happens, you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's insane.
Any last things that you want to?
No, I think I'm good overall. Spirits are scary.
Yeah, we'll end on that. Yeah, spirits are scary.
Spirits are scary. You gotta know what you're doing with them.
Yeah. But yeah, so hopefully you guys will join us again next time, where we will be diving deeper into Liza's more current situation, which hopefully has a little bit more resolution.
It's not resolved yet.
The next one.
Yep.
But yeah, so if you would like to hear more about that, you can check us out wherever you listen to your podcast. And
Spotify.
Spotify. Yeah, and
Goodbye.
that's all.